All right, guys, I'm on the side of the coach right now, the campsite, where we have our powered stab jacks. So real simple operation, extend, retract. But since we have Dan from Lippert here, Dan, the only question that I have relative to the stab jacks is, hey, if they're not working, is there a manual override, or what would be maybe some, you and I talked offline about what some people try to do. They try to get the wheels off of the ground. Is that something we don't recommend, or?
Yeah, absolutely not. So for stab jack operation, it's simply get the feet down to the ground, make sure they're putting a little bit of contact down. Once we start to lift up or try to lift up, what's going to happen is the stab jack is not designed to lift the weight of the coach, and it will buckle on itself, and at that point the stab jack would have to be replaced.
And relative to interruption of power, if a camper is realizing that this isn't working, then they can go to a manual override, which is on the other side of the coach.
Yeah, correct. So typically, if the wall switch, wherever the wall switch is, the manual override would be on the opposing side. So right here we have our motor, so the manual override for this particular stab jack would be on the opposite side.
Okay. All right, so now we're on the opposite side of where the motor is for the stabilizer jacks. So Dan, if you just kind of give some talking points on manual operation for these.
Absolutely. So we've got another manual override crank here, slightly different design from the tongue jack one. It's got a groove notched out in here. Now before we do the manual override, we're going to want to make sure we're disconnected from the battery. That way we're not creating any backfeed. It'll also help with the battery, or excuse me, the motor rather, and not be as difficult to do this. So right on the shaft here on the opposite side of that motor, this is a manual override shaft, and we're just going to line up. There's two roll pins sticking out there. We're just going to line those roll pins up so they go around this guy. And then at this point, we just turn the handle clockwise or counterclockwise to either extend or retract those stab jacks.
And so again, once, let's say maybe they realized that a battery was dead, and that was the cause of why the stab jacks weren't operating. Once they have those fully charged, they can go back to full operation with the switch.
Yep, as long as there's no other concerns. But at that point, once they know the battery's good, then they can start to troubleshoot if there's any other concerns after that.
And then while I have you here too, because we do get this question also, is there any kind of maintenance that needs to be done with the power stabilizer jacks?
Yeah, so we're going to keep them free of dirt and debris, just some city water hookups, perfectly fine. And then the shaft that goes across that connects the one leg to the other, we would just grease that down or lubricate that down with a dry silicone. So there's no specific brand that has to be used, but any type of dry silicone spray on that shaft.
And we don't typically recommend like every 3 months, because some campers camp a lot in 3 months and some people don't camp at all. So we would just say do the visual inspection. If you see that it needs some lubrication, then go ahead and apply.
Yeah, if they've been driving through the desert or through salty environments or something along those lines, or camping on the coast, and they've just sprayed it off with some water, that's a good idea to go back behind there and lubricate them at the same time.
Sounds good.
Another thing that they'll want to note for operation is as they're running these down, the way the jack is designed, one foot may be in front of the other foot slightly for operation. What'll happen is the one foot will hit and then the other one will catch up. And at that point, that's when we can put a little bit more weight on that system. So just a key is the jacks aren't broke. It's designed to actuate one make run a little faster than the other, and that's designed that way.
Okay.